Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah,
right?
Can't complain.
Can't complain. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this off right here. LB 840. We've had a couple articles about it on our website at ksidradio.com. I've had at-length discussions with both of you off the air about this, and there's been a lot of question marks involved here that a lot of residents have posed, and I know there's some of the things that you wanted to address here today. So let's start from the very beginning and just talk about LB 840 as a whole. Melissa, if you want to hit on this part of it exactly, what is LB 840?
Okay, so facts about LB 840. LB 840 is the only way in the state of Nebraska municipalities can do economic development activities. So economic development activities are limited to how it is spelled out in your economic development or LB 840 plan, and that plan has to be approved by the voters. Originally, Sidney approved an LB 840 plan in 1997, and a new sales tax went into place at that time. So in 1997, this was a new sales tax. And remember, sales tax is not only people within the community going out and spending money, it's also people coming into the community, either visiting or from other areas around Sidney, spending money. That's sales tax dollars. The plan was reapproved in 2007 for 10 more years, and it was approved again in November 2016 to run from 2017 through 2027. So currently, as the plan is written, there's $300,000 that we can use for economic development activities every single year. $50,000 of that $300,000 goes to downtown projects. $50,000 goes to north side projects. $200,000 is remaining for overall job creation and retention programs. What we're proposing in the revised plan is to keep the $300,000 exactly as is. No changes to that. The existing tax is still in place, has been in place for over 20 years. Won't change. The breakdown won't change for the 300. North side will still get their 50, downtown still get their 50, 200 will remain for job creation. All we're asking to change is the ability to accept grant money, donations from donors, or other state and federal funds that are eligible for economic development activities. If somebody came to me today and said, I want to give you $5 million for economic development activities, I could not accept it.
Right. By the book. You're not allowed.
Because it's the state law.
Correct. And as I mentioned before going to break, I've had the opportunity to read through this bill, the revised bill. I've read through it a couple times and tried to get educated on this, and I feel like that's what we're really trying to do, and that's why you ladies are here, and that's why I hope you'll also be here a couple more times as we come up to that election date on August 14th. With this, I know both of you ladies were talking about this. Once people started to receive the ballots yesterday in the mail, you both received several phone calls about this, and it's one of the first bullet points on the ballot, and just what you hit on right there, Melissa, is the $300,000 sales tax, which is what is in place now. It's been in place since 1997, and Hope, I know you wanted to hit on this too. With that, even if the revision to this plan is not approved by voters, that's not going away.
Right. The way that it is written now will stay the same.
Right.
This only opens the door to accept other money through donations, through grant funding that is specific to economic development, through state and federal funding. Right now, that avenue is completely closed, so we're very restricted on what we can do and what we have. So why not open that door for this? We need to be able to do all that we can at this point. We're in a very critical point where we can either move forward and continue growing, or we can stay where we are and be very limited on what we're doing. We have the ability to have around $4 million per year for this, and right now, the way that it is written, we have $300,000. The $300,000 will stay the same in what it's allocated to, but we have the potential to have $4 million per year to use towards economic development outside of the $300,000 that we have. And I don't know if you want to clarify on that, Melissa, but there might be some more information there that I'm missing.
Well, I know a big question too that's come up with this is how is this money going to be overseen? You know, how with specifically the $300,000, and most of something you and I talked about, there is a citizen advisory review committee, I believe is what they're referred to. It's made up of 7 taxpayers, from what I understand, local citizens here in Sidney that are able to make that decision on what this money goes to, right?
So how the process works is businesses submit an application to me directly. I put all the information, including a business plan, financials, and their application together, and we have an open public meeting with, yes, the Economic Development Citizen Advisory Committee.
It's a big title.
Yeah, and we have an open public meeting. It's published in the newspaper. The public is welcome to attend and offer their input. And yes, those 7 residents, taxpayers within the city limits make the decision, a recommendation that I then take to the city council. And the city council makes the final decision, yes or no, we will approve the application moving forward.
I will offer this to our listeners right now. We don't do this very often, but if we can have civil conversation here on the show, if you have a question for either Melissa or Hope on this issue right now, you can give us a call here at the station, 308-254-5803. Issue, question, whatever it may be. Like I said, all I ask is that we please stay civil here on the air. So if that is the case, you give us a call again, 254-5803. Hope, you hit on something that really stuck out to me when I read through the bill. Again, $300,000 right now is all that is allotted to the city of Sidney for economic development. And Melissa, that's another question I have for you in just a moment here. But with this, there are several different thresholds within the state of Nebraska of what cities are able to bring in for economic development. Sidney falls in that threshold of you can bring up to $4 million in economic development funds that are specifically for that. So we're talking about with this revisement an opportunity, not saying it'll happen because it's the maximum, but you at least give city officials the opportunity to bring in another $3.7 million a year in economic development funds. That is a chunk of change.
Right. And right now it's untapped potential. And it doesn't have any detriment to people with increasing taxes or imposing a new sales tax. This is only in the form of donations or grants or federal and state funding, like we've said.
Mm-hmm.
So there are specific grants that are just for economic development. They can't be used for other things. And right now we're not even able to explore those. So it's really putting us in a bind.
And with the $300,000 right now that the city is allocated for economic development, Melissa, this is something we talked about in a separate interview about a month or so ago, because this is something you brought up during the State of Sidney meeting in mid-June. Right now, over the next 5 years, a lot of those funds are already promised to businesses that have come to Sidney at this point. So like Luke Chan, Agri-Plastics, for example, and it puts you in a bind.
That's correct. So over the next 5 years, a lot of our funding is allocated and committed to companies who have either moved here or are starting up here that we've gone through the process and we've approved their applications. They've gone to city council. So yeah, we need some other options. A couple of other things I want to mention. The state statute allows you to tap into property taxes, add additional sales tax. And we chose to not do those things because we didn't want to be taking away tax money and revenue from other city services that are offered to residents. So after long, lengthy meetings, we decided that this was the best, easiest route and least impactful on residents. Just opening the door and allowing me to go out and do more work, trying to find donors, trying to track down grants, trying to track down other federal funds or state funds that are eligible for economic development activities. It's just allowing me to do that.
Right. You touched on this earlier. If the voters do end up voting no on the revision to this plan, nothing changes, right? Just like you said, the $300,000 is staying the same. That half-cent sales tax is staying the same all the way to 2028, 27.
2027.
Yes, 2027. If this is revised, then it goes another year to 2028, right?
Correct.
Okay. So either way, this is something, just like you had said, 1997 was when this originally came into play. That voters voted on it then. It was renewed in 2007, and then just last year it was renewed again by voters, correct?
Correct. November 2016 on the ballot, then it was reapproved.
Okay.
Right.
I know there were also some questions that we saw, and either one of you can take this, I don't care who. There were some questions as to why the need for the special election. We have a general election coming up in November. I'm curious with that, is there any added cost to the city for having this special election?
The city does have to pay for the special election, and we had lengthy discussions about that internally at the city as well. We also discussed it in a public open meeting with the city council of whether or not to do a special election. The special election is still 75 days away-ish. And that 75 days can be make or break for the city. I truly think that adding 75 days to allow me to go out and try to find some additional money somewhere, there's people waiting in the wings. So I think the 75 days can be make or break in the situation that we're in, and we felt that it was that important to do the special election.
Melissa, with you being an actual city official, you're kind of hindered, I guess, in what you can say about LB 840. All you're able to do is really present the facts about it. You can't go one way or the other.
Correct.
That's just the way it is. Hope, with you being the chamber president, what you're doing is advocating, it seems like, for local businesses. So you have the ability to say, yes, I think you should vote yes for LB 840, or no, I think you should not vote for LB 840. But from your perspective, what do you think this difference will make if this is approved by voters, the revision to the plan?
Well, everything feeds in together. So the chamber's purpose is to promote an environment for business to grow. And that means all businesses, small businesses, larger businesses that are on the outskirts of town, everything. Whatever we do now feeds into our community and feeds into our economy. We need to make a decision whether we want to move forward and continue to do more, or whether we want to just stay where we're at now. And I feel like many of our citizens want us to move forward and want us to be competitive. And right now, Melissa is in a position where she can do many things, but she's still restricted on what she's able to do. If we have her in this position, we want her to be able to do all that she can. And I feel like with this revision, it will open up a lot of doors for her to be able to go out and do more for us. That will impact small businesses too, that will bring people into the town, that will spend money at the small businesses downtown, and will boost our economy as a whole. So I'm very for the revision for LB 840, and I do feel like it will really push our community in the right direction and will make a positive impact.
Perfect. We do have a phone call. We'll find out if it's about this or if it's about something else. So just hold on one second. Good morning. You're on Swap Shop. Okay, do you want to give a phone number? Okay, thank you. So an indoor-outdoor yard sale, furniture, home decor, 1401 East 4th Terrace Apartments. Phone number for that, 235-2214. Other than the thought that there could be an added tax here, which we've debunked at this point, with it being the $300,000 sales tax that's been in place since 1997, what have been some other questions you have received about this, either one of you?
We have received some questions coming in on whether in the future, if let's say we create a program to boost economic development, if the grant funding goes away, will we impose a new tax, or will we take money from other city utilities such as water, streets, etc., to pay for the lack of the grant funding? And really, the way that LB 840 is written, it's very set in stone with what you can do to it. So that's why we have to do this revision in the first place. And so to make changes in the future, we would still have to have an election and a vote for the moving forward of what we would what change we would need. So, and in that as well, projects that we're working on and things that we would look forward for grant funding, if those go away, we would not want to go forward and look for other ways to take that away from the city utilities or anything, because who wants to be without a way to get to work if the streets aren't scooped, or you know, there's just so many things that we have to do just to live here and just have an overall peaceful community that we want economic development to thrive, but we're not going to do that with detriment to other programs. And I don't know if there's any more information on how the bill is written that Melissa can expand on there, but that's what I think. we can do grant funding, and if the grant runs out, then it runs out. And then maybe we work on other options, maybe through donation forms to continue programs on if that's what we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Melissa, without having to get into specifics here, I did want to ask you this final question. Obviously, you're at the head of trying to bring in new businesses to town. That's kind of your role as Economic Development Director here. Do you believe that with the way it's written now, with only $300,000 a year allocated for economic development, have there been situations, like I said, not getting into specifics, where you've talked with a company or whoever and have said, I've already given these funds, I've promised them to other businesses, and that's been almost kind of a deterrent to them?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
To
But it's one of the
super
things
vague.
where it's a competition, is it not? For if they're looking at a different place and another place can offer them X amount of money and you can't, that could certainly come up.
It certainly is top of the list for companies who are looking for expansion opportunities, relocation opportunities, startup businesses. Those first questions that people ask are, what can you offer for incentives?
Mm-hmm. And that's the name of the game at this point. One more phone call real quick. Good morning, you're on Swap Shop. Okay, perfect, thank you. Storage cabinet to give away, also moving boxes, 50 of them for $5, 672-7219. Ladies, anything else you wanted to touch on while I have you in studio?
I just really urge people, if you have questions or comments or concerns, call myself, call Hope, call somebody and ask the question to make sure that things are clear for everybody. Yeah.
And I will be back at Swap Shop on the 9th and the 13th,
Mm-hmm.
and we would love to answer some more questions. So if you think of more things as you're reading through the bill, or just talking with people out in the community, make sure you write those down. And if you'd like to come on the air with us and ask those at the next time we're at Swap Shop, that would be great. And just let us know what you're thinking and what kind of questions you have, and we're happy to help and just want to clear this up for everybody.
There you go. Very insightful discussion here this morning. Thank you
Thank
both
you
for
for
coming
having
in.
us.
Thank you.
With that, we'll take a short break and be back in just a moment.